Hi, I'm JoeJoe, one of the naturalists for Napa Open Space District. I'm here at Robert Louis Stevenson State Park, which is Mount St. Helena, on the Napa County side. We're talking a little bit about wildflowers and geology, a part of our third Saturday hikes.
And I'm Sarah. I'll be the one talking about geology today, and we're glad you can join us online and virtual.
All right, now we're in a different location. It's sort of an in-between from the forest and the chaparral area. And as we go further, you'll see a little bit of what happened in 2017 during the fires. So let's go a little bit further. All right, we're further along the road, and as we see right here, all the damage that has taken place. Some plants have died, like the knobcone pine. When a fire goes through, they usually die. However, they have this beautiful phoenix effect. So their cones are usually tight. They are hard to open up unless there is heat. When heat goes through or fire goes through, it opens up the cone, the seeds are released, and after that, once the rain comes through, you'll see seedlings in that same spot. And other plants do benefit from it, like the bush poppy. Now, the bush poppy is not a real poppy, it's a shrub. It has 4 petals, and in the middle is the stamen, which is the male part. Now, it likes really fast draining soils, which right here, and it loves full open spots, exposure. This is a very beautiful display of lupin. I really love lupin. You can usually find them right off the side of the road. We have about 17 species, probably even more, maybe 20 plus. This one right here is called the silver bush lupin. Now, some lupin are annuals, meaning they only have one life to live. This one can live multiple years. It has a woody structure rather than the herbaceous ones. Right over here, it ranges from blue, violet, all the way to pink right in front of you. One of the cool things that I really love about lupin is that it actually captures the nitrogen from the atmosphere and puts it right back into the soil. We also call that green manure, even though it does live on really poor nutrient sites. So as we continued walking on the fire road, we noticed that there was a beautiful white flower. And that white flower was the chaparral morning glory, which is native to California and to the county. For Napa County, we have at least 10 plus native morning glories, which is really awesome. One of them is rare, which we didn't see that one today, and that will come later on in the late spring season. All of them, all the native morning glories, are usually found in hilly slope, a mountain habitat, and also oak woodlands and in chaparral slopes. They all have a beautiful way of forming, which is they have climbing branches, and they also do serve a purpose of feeding a lot of our butterflies and our native bees and flies as well. Another flowering shrub that we encountered was a wavy ceanothus. It's so gorgeous. It really brightens up the landscape with its blue violet flowers.
The flowers are very, very gorgeous and they have a fragrance to it. It smells like soap, and it was used for soap by the Wapo tribe and the Pomos as well that lived around the area. Now, there are three varieties that are recognized. One is actually very rare. It's the vine heel ceanothus, and that's found in Lake County in Sonoma and Napa. Another rare ceanothus actually on the mountain is the Lincoln Ridge ceanothus. All ceanothus are really good for butterfly habitat. So the cool thing about this one is California has its native dandelion. And no, I'm not talking about the ones you usually can find off of the street growing in concrete, in those little corners. No, those were introduced. However, California's dandelion, it's a beautiful one. It's a perennial herb. And has the basal patch of leaves with very different shapes, usually very linear. It has a really big cluster of flower. From that produces this beautiful white puff seed head. Now it could grow in many habitats. However, it's not really aggressive at all. So you might not find them usually in towns, but in places that are not disturbed, you usually can find them in the hillsides or in mountain ranges. They're not confined to California, but you can find them in British Columbia all the way to Utah. This plant holds a special place in my heart. I love it so much. My mom grew native irises at her home in Vallejo, and I would see them every spring as a kid. And it was the gateway for me to enter in the world of native California plants. Now, there are three native irises that you might encounter. The very first one is the Douglas iris, which this picture isn't. The other one would be the Fertile iris, which this picture isn't again. The third one is the bulbed tube iris, or we also call it the ground iris, which this picture is. Now, how can you tell, between the three? It's so confusing. And also, they can hybridize with each other. Well, here's some clues that could help you. So, the Douglas iris usually grows in a more colder, moist site. And, sometimes they don't really reach Napa County that often. You usually can find them, the majority, in Sonoma, Marin, almost near the coast. However, there's some population down in American Canyon, which it's really close to the bay. Another iris, the Fertile iris that you might encounter if you walk through the forest, would be the Fertile iris, which they like dappled shade, more of a humus, rich soils, which have really nice drainage. Their colors range from creamy white to creamy yellows. It's a very gorgeous one. And the last one, the bulb tube iris, uh, that is the most encountered iris that you would find around the county. And why I'm saying that, it can actually grow in dappled shade and also in full sun, exposed sites. It's a really gorgeous plant, one that is used heavily from the Native Americans to make ropes as well. Now, the reason why we call it the bulb tube iris is because right underneath the petals and the sepals is a bowl shaped, and underneath is the tube. The tube is sort of, you can't really see it that often, but it's in between those, the structure that looks like petal leaves that come together. Now, their color ranges from blue violet all the way to yellow to pink. And when two species or three species come together, oh boy, you'll have just a color upon colors. And that's the reason why they're called iris. It's a Greek name for rainbow. Another beautiful flower that you cannot miss while walking on the mountain is the beautiful Texas paintbrush, or also known as the woolly Indian paintbrush, which is its common name. It's native to California, northern Baja California, and no, it's not in Texas, which is a funny thing. The cool thing about this plant is that it is parasitic or semi parasitic, usually tapping into other roots, other native plants around it, like chamise, yarrow, or sagebrush. Another flower that we encountered was the warrior plume, which is very interesting because this one also is a parasitic plant if it has the opportunity to do so. It usually grows near the hef family, the madrones, the manzanitas, the huckleberry, and taps into their roots to obtain water and other nutrients. Now, it doesn't hurt the plant at all. It has been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And if there are no other plants growing around it, it's totally fine. It can grow on its own without tapping into roots, which is an interesting part, which we call a hemiparasite. Now, the thing that I really love about this flower is the reddish to magenta stems and also the fern-shaped leaves. And if you look closely at its flowers, it has a toothed petal that goes really deep down in. Now, another flowering tree or flowering shrub, depending on its habitat, is the manzanita, which is so gorgeous. It's a very beautiful plant. It flowers between December all the way into May, depending on the elevation. And the most encountered manzanita usually is the common manzanita. The scientific name would be Archocephalus manzanita. Archocephalus means berry bears. It's a little tongue twister for me. Usually the bears love the berries after the flowers are pollinated. The flowers are shaped like a bell, very gorgeous, and it serves really great purpose during the winter time to feed hummingbirds, native bees, wasps, and flies. Now, it really is hard to ID a manzanita because, I mean, hey, they all look the same, but there's some clues that can help you out. One is the structure of the leaf. Do they have hairs on their stem? If the fruit is pollinated, is the fruit sticky? That's a really interesting clue. Another way to help you along your journey to discover the world of manzanitas is to purchase the book called The Field Guide to Manzanitas of California, North America, and Mexico by Michael Kaufman.
And now for the geology portion. One of the questions that get asked a lot about Mount St. Helena is whether or not it's a volcano. And unfortunately, it's not. It's a volcano in precisely the same way that Wizard Island is not a volcano. And that is, it's part of a larger volcanic structure, but in and of itself, it's not a volcano. So how did we get volcanism in Napa, California? So during the time of the dinosaurs, the Mesozoic age, the Farallon plate was subducting beneath North America, and as it was subducting, sediment and rock was getting pushed up onto the North American plate. As subduction started finishing, the Pacific plate came in behind it. There's a very slight compressive force with that Pacific plate coming in, and you can see behind me how we have these rolling hills. So those rolling hills are due to that slight compressive force. The San Andreas Fault is due to the most known motion, that where it's moving northward along the way. So in the time where we had both Farallon finishing its subduction and Pacific plate coming in, you had what's called a triple junction. And as that subduction was finishing with the Farallon plate, it changed the dynamics in the selenosphere. And so magma consequently was able to well up. And as that triple junction moved northward, so did that welling up of magma move northward following the triple junction. And so that's how we got volcanism in Napa, California. We have older volcanism further south of us, and as we move northward into Clear Lake, we get younging in the age of the volcanism. Before we leave you, we're going to show you this gorgeous view of Mount Diablo and Mount Veeder, both of our local mountains to this region. If you were to hike to the summit of Mount St. Helena, you'd be able to see Sonoma County, Napa County, Lake County, and on really clear days as far as the Sierras.
Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that brought joy to your day. Make sure that you go on our website, napaoutdoors.org, to follow us about our upcoming third Saturday hikes. Have a wonderful day.
I could talk about conifers all day. Hopefully, we'll have another third Saturday hike all about conifers because they're just a staple in the county.